Welcome back, Tiger fans, to Rockin' Radio's football podcast. I'm Nate Edwards. That's Nathan Hurst. This is Before the Box Score. Nobody said that it was going to be easy. No one even thought it was going to happen.
Yeah, we did. We did say it was going to be easy.
Oh, you did? We did?
Yeah.
We did? Was it in fact 100% guaranteed that it was going to happen this way? Okay. Yeah, Missouri beat UMass. So yeah, congratulations us. We did it. Congratulations team. You did it. Overlooked a sleepy week, homecoming week. You got the dub. Hurst, how you feeling?
Tired. I don't know if this is. It's probably a little bit of both, but mainly column A. I am super washed. Column B. This was the most boring game in the history of man. But I am ashamed to say this is the first Mizzou football game, probably sporting. No, first Mizzou football game at the very least that I have fallen asleep in the middle of the fourth quarter of. Yes, wow. I had a long day. Yeah, started at 6 a.m. getting down for the homecoming parade, tailgate all day. Yeah. Get to the game, get home early. If we didn't even make it, decide not even to make it to the game, come home early. Just a long day. Watch the game from home. And by the middle of the fourth quarter, man, it was getting the eyes were getting heavy in there, and the game was not capturing my attention. And I did fall asleep for about 3 minutes, and then I woke up. I did not miss a single thing. The score was the same. And I think UMass might have gotten. I missed them breaking the 100-yard total yard mark when I fell asleep. But I was able to stay with it the rest of the day. So am I washed? Definitely washed. Yeah. But was this also the most boring football game of all time? Yes, this is also the most boring football game of all time.
Can we just figure out why? I my big takeaway, kind of from the game was that it was never in doubt, but it wasn't enjoyable. And I enjoyed them beating Louisiana and running 59 times. I did not enjoy them beating UMass and running it 48 times. Success rates are about the same. Maybe it's just fewer explosive plays. I've only gone about halfway through my deep dive, my 3-watch deep dive. I don't know what it was. I think Hardy was not as effective as he usually was. They kept him out till the third quarter. His yards per carry, the explosive plays were not there like they usually are. I think it seemed like there needed to be a tad more effort than what you would prefer. And so just kind of, you didn't get the satisfaction of just the thumping that you put on Louisiana, or the sumo sitting that you did on Kansas. And you had a turnover. They got a passing touchdown. You had some big plays that you gave up. I don't know. Why did this game it's no fun. The entertainment was not there.
It was the team, and everyone was bored. The team, this is as sleepwalk through a game as you can possibly get, yet still out yardage the other team 500 to 100, give or take a few on the other side. So as to be as sleepwalking as you can get and still utterly dominate, I think is really because the team had very little energy, I feel like, overall, which I don't necessarily blame them. This is 5 straight games, 5 straight home games. You've got to buy, and then the biggest game of the season coming up. You've not already knocked off 2 big games that you've already gotten up for. Kansas game you got up for, South Carolina game you got up for. And then you got the worst team in FBS coming in. So I don't blame them for not getting up, but they didn't. And they knew that they could come in and kind of, just big brother them all game. And that's what they did. And then they, locked UMass in the closet under the stairs and went and partied with their friends. And that's pretty much what happened.
There you go. That's got to be it. It's just, it was sleepy. It was very sleepy. I agree with you on that. I said Ahmad Hardy was not as effective as he usually is. I mean, his worst success rate so far was 42.9% rushing success rate against South Carolina and a 42.3 against Kansas. This game was 54.2, which is not his best, certainly not his worst, but his worst against, a non-power program. 5.4 yards per carry. That would put him at much less than what he did in Louisiana. I guess this is his lowest since the Kansas game, where it was 4.2. So I think that might be part of it too. It's just he was not as spectacular, impressive as he had been. Not to say that he wasn't, because he broke like a million billion tackles again and ripped off some big ones. Um, but his yards per carry was the lowest so far against non-power teams. His success rate was the lowest against non-power teams. They kept him out there into the third quarter so he could get over 100 yards, and then just kept him in there. And it felt like, I don't know. Yeah, it was just kind of like walking through mud. And
Yeah.
the he had more runs stuffed or hit for loss in one game than he did. Basically, it was 13 heading in, and he had 4 for this game by itself. So, I mean, do the quick math on that. It's almost 20%. Of his tackles for loss or 0 yards came in this game. The offensive line gave up 4 sacks. Now everybody played, but it just, I don't know. It was not. There's not this thunderous victory. There's not like this resounding stomping. Like numerically, yes, this game was never in doubt. It's just, I guess it didn't feel as dominant as you would expect going up against literally the worst team in FBS. And yeah, 5 straight weeks of games. I think even the broadcast said something along the lines, I think the fans are getting tired of having to come out each week. I think Eli Drinkwitz mentioned it too. Like, usually at this point, you've had a road game where you don't have to do this in 5 straight weeks.
Yeah, that was one of them, and I fell asleep in the fourth quarter.
You fell asleep.
I mean, there you go.
You didn't even go. You fell asleep.
Yeah,
You just get worn out. So
didn't even make it. Made it to all the festivities, but didn't make it to the game. So it was. Yeah, it was. I think it was basically, if you take the Central Arkansas game, strip away the excitement that this is the first game of the season, strip away the big 50-yard passing plays, which is the other thing that this game did not have, was any kind of down the field passing. Really, barely even attempted anything down the field, let alone completed that. And I understand why. I mean, they're just staying vanilla, keep everything close to the vest, and Alabama's coming up in 2 weeks. Let's try to get out of this with as little showing as little as possible. But it led to a boring game. So very little down the field. Central Arkansas without the fun stuff. And it was frustrating because the offensive line really didn't play great. Not nearly as dominant as they should have been, which is why Ahmad Hardy didn't break as many runs. I mean, he broke a lot of tackles because he had to, because he was getting hit at the line but every single time. So really kind of a little discouraging in my opinion, on how the offensive line played. That wasn't great. 4 sacks, as you mentioned, 4 sacks against a UMass team that doesn't get sacks. So I don't know. I mean, that's concerning. You go back and look at them. Were they all on the offensive line? No. Perbula's having some trouble, identifying when and where pressure's
nickel
coming.
Nickel blitzes.
Yeah. And if UMass knows to try that, I guarantee you that Alabama knows to try that. So you're gonna have to figure out how to identify those sooner. But so that was one. Another one, he held onto the ball a little too long. Just got to get rid of the ball. The other two were on the offensive line. But add that to the running game was fine. I mean, it was good. They had 268 yards on the ground. They moved the ball as when they wanted to. There wasn't any of those giant road grader holes that you would expect when playing a team of UMass's quality. So it was boring. Defense did their job. They 119 yards. That's what are you gonna argue that? Or 124 yards, I think. Is that what it was? 124 yards total. You're gonna take that. That's great. Also boring. Only one turnover, only 1 sack. So not a whole lot of flash on that side of the ball either.
Yeah, and really no sacks because it was a potential grounding. But 519 at 136 on the yardage total. To the explosive play point, 4 explosive passes, none of which went further than 20 yards. As a reminder, explosive pass is 16 yards. So you have 1 16-yarder to Norfleet, a 17-yarder to Johnson, a 17-yarder to Coleman, and a 20-yarder to Tavoris Jones, which was a great pass and great catch, but that was one. Yeah. And you had 9 explosive rushes, which you tend to have way more than that, and none of them really there's one that went for longer than 20. two that went longer than 20, but like you're just, yeah, it wasn't there. Um, so yeah, the flash wasn't there, and you're kind of hoping to see that. But also it was late. It's UMass. Just pack it up and go home. I get
Yeah.
it. I'm not
Get out of
complaining.
get
I
out
want
of
to make
there
sure.
without any. Yeah, no
Yeah,
complaints. It just
no
is what it
complaints.
is. It
It
is
was
what it
not that
is.
long ago when Mizzou would lose to Middle Tennessee on homecoming. So I am
Yeah.
not complaining at
Or at
all.
the very least, this would be, a 34-17 game against Abilene Christian,
Yeah.
where you're frustrated, and even if you're not in danger of losing, still very frustrating. This wasn't a frustrating game. It was just a
No,
boring game. It was just kind of, why are we
it's boring.
here? What
Yeah.
what other than the fact that we have to play 12 games? Well, that's
Yeah.
the only reason we're here.
Yeah.
And so they got out of it without any injuries, at least anything that looks to be any kind of serious. A couple guys maybe got nicked up a little bit, but you know, uh, nothing at least as of now that we know of that's serious at all. So take the W and move into the bye. I think that's all you can take
Yeah.
from this one.
Keys to the game: don't get injured. You had a little bit of a scare with Ahmad Hardy. Dre Norwood did not play. Soft tissue issue. Soft tissue issue. Boy, I could fix that in post. Let's find some better way to say that.
Soft
Uh,
issue.
soft issues in the tissues.
He's got
Yeah.
issues with tissues.
Yeah, I don't know. We're gonna stop that one. But yeah, you didn't see any field goals, none attempted. Obviously, little Bobby Myers made all of his extra points, which good. Like to see a field goal here or there, but whatever. Um, on defense, they gave up some big plays, and two of them weren't caught. Uh, Jaquan Gibson's good. Also's got thumbs for fingers and dropped wide open passes. But even then, again, if you're defining an explosive pass as 16 yards or greater, they had one explosive pass. It went to Jaquan Gibson, 24 yards,
And
and
they had
there's a
two more
couple
that
that
were
were deep.
dropped. That would have
Yep,
been 30
huge.
yards plus.
Yep, just big old holes in the secondary. Now that was third and fourth quarter, so it wasn't the starters. Okay. Um, and from a rushing standpoint, don't count sacks, but they held him to 15 rushes, 33 yards. It's absurd, absolutely absurd. Um, I mean, this I know this team is good. We all know this team is good. Um, they also haven't played anybody, frankly. The best team on there was Kansas 27th, and that was a 46th best defense. South Carolina's defense was 30th, but that's a 50th best team in SP Plus before everything gets updated for this week. So they have not played anybody worth their while. Alabama currently fourth. Just beat Georgia. Seventh offense, sixth defense. Like it's going to be a rude awakening, and you got 2 weeks to figure it out. But yeah, I didn't really leave anything feeling good about after UMass. It's just more like holding steady. Like, hey, Ahmad Hardy's still good. Hey, offensive line still pretty good. You just didn't see anything that made you feel confident or to build on, and maybe that just wasn't the point. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot more to say at this point. Yeah, there's nothing that you leave this game feeling scared about or worse about than you did going into it. But there's also not a whole lot you feel any better about in terms of talking about the issues and the things this team needs to get better at. Those
Right.
things weren't worse. They weren't, but they also, if they were significantly better, it doesn't matter because it's UMass, So this is a game that is a obligatory game. You are obligated to
Mm-hmm.
play this game
Mm-hmm.
by contract, and once again, you have to play 12 of them. So I guess you got to play somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, it's done. So I kind of want to stop complaining about it.
Sure. I want to give credit to Bo Pribula, though. Broke Chase Daniel's record of consecutive passes completed. Uh, Not a lot of hard passes, I will say. A lot of it was really short, simple stuff. But you know what? You have to make the short, simple stuff. And you have to not get whacked while you're throwing it, like they did for the interception. Probably could have been even more than that. In fact, if you want to spin it even harder, you could argue only 2 passes that he threw did not reach somebody's hands. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I don't know. I mean, you had a couple easy ones to Kevin Coleman, and you had a couple just out routes to Brett Norfleet and Jamal Roberts here and there. But I also want to point this out too. Kevin Coleman targeted 12 times, 12 catches. That's 100% catch rate. And what was the success rate? I just did the math before I jumped on. 66.7% success rate. That is really good for 12 targets. So bravo, gentlemen. It was like throwing against air, but you still did it. You still had to do it, and they did it. So yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, the interception on rewatching it a second time when I watched it live and even with the replays, on the broadcast, I was like, "What is he doing?" That was
It's climbing way too high.
Timmy Hinspeeder. Shout out to my boy who had himself a day, 17
Mm-hmm.
tackles for old Timmy.
Yeah.
Was just camped out right there in the middle of the field, and it looked live like Bo just decided, "Oh, I'm going to throw it to that guy instead of my guy because
Yeah.
Timmy's a good dude." That's not what happened actually. I didn't realize till I went back and watched it again multiple times that ball did get a defensive lineman did get his hand on the ball, which is why it looked like such a limp ball coming out of his hands. But so the throw wasn't as bad as it looked, but the decision to climb that high in the pocket, to throw it in the first place, to not, and even if it hadn't gotten tipped, I mean, best case scenario, Hinspeeder probably gets a hand on it and knocks it down. So he should have either stayed in the pocket, which it really wasn't collapsing all that much, or he could have rolled out, or just keep the ball, run it. He would have had 4 or 5 yards, get down. Then it's second down and 5 or what. I don't remember what down it was when he threw that, but it wasn't third and long. It wasn't fourth down where he was desperate. So yeah, it was a bad decision, but not as bad in the same way that I thought it was live.
Yeah, it happens. Just bad. Yeah, bad decision to do all of that.
But make those decisions against UMass.
Yeah.
So that you can then learn from them and then not make them the next time. It is interesting that their only scoring point was off of that turnover. They ran it all the way down to the 30, and then that plus a pass interference call. That's the only reason they ended up at points at all. I haven't done this, and I might do this in the next. Well, not this upcoming week. I'll be a little busy, but in the next couple of weeks, before the Alabama game, I'm gonna look at what percentage of drives the defense has had where they've given up points that have actually come on legitimate either punts and then a full drive or a score and a kickoff where the opposing team starts the ball at a reasonable part of the field, moves their way down without the benefit of and arbitrarily I haven't decided on this. This is just talking off the top of my head. Arbitrarily 40-yard pass play or a major penalty on third down. All right. Because I think the answer is like 2. In 5 games, they've probably given up 2 drives where the offense has started on the 25, gone on a actual legitimate drive all the way down the field without the benefit of a pass interference penalty or a really long busted coverage for and then actually score a touchdown. It's absurdly low. Absurdly low.
All right. So I can do this roughly here. And I don't want to steal your article, so we won't touch too much.
I don't even know if I've been right about it, but I was just gonna maybe I'll we can talk about it now though. We don't we've only been going
we got 30
18
minutes to kill.
Yeah, we're trying to kill time. We have nothing else to talk about in the game.
So Central Arkansas scored from their 37. Not any explosive plays. It took like 7 plays.
But was that when they had the pass interference on Toriano Pride on that drive? Because there was one. There was one drive where he got a penalty. I don't know if they ended up scoring on that drive or not.
This was the end. No.
Oh, that was the very end of the game. That's right. That was against like the third stringers.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe I'll add that additional caveat. The first string defense.
Okay. All right. We can do that. All right. So Kansas scored from their 38-yard line. No penalties.
Okay. That would have been their first.
Daniels took Rowan that 24-yard to the tight end, got him in scoring position.
Okay. That's a real drive. We'll give that one. So that's one.
They also scored from their 47, which that's about halfway through to the,
was that off of a punt? Was that off a punt or
some kid named Nagy returned it 22 yards?
Okay.
So
and that wasn't the play. That wasn't the drive where they had like the long 50-yard pass down to the 2.
It was Daniels to Wentz for 50.
So
okay.
Swipe that out. That one doesn't count for this.
Right.
For this.
We're not going to count.
So we're still at 1.
Okay. Nope. Mizzou scored on that one. What else did Kansas score on? They started at their 35 and got a field goal. Wait, we're not counting field goals, are we?
Yeah, I just for the purpose, let's call it a field goal because they've given up very few field goals too. So sure.
Okay, sure. So they started
as long as it wasn't
35.
aided by a 40+ yard pass or a 15-yard penalty.
No, wait, that was the face mask from Darius Smith.
Yes, and that was on third
on
down, and it
third down.
extended the drive. Yeah, so wipe
Okay,
that one
we'll
out.
throw that one
They're
out
still at
too.
one.
Okay. Did not score there. Did not score there. They started on their 7. Kansas started on their 7. 25-yard pass, 19-yard scramble, 12-yard pass, offsides on Zion Young when they're on the 11, took it to the 6, and they had a touchdown pass. Do you
Okay,
want to
so that's
count
2.
that?
Yeah, we'll count
Okay,
that. Offsides does
that's 2.
not. That doesn't count. That
Okay,
is
cool. All right, so 2 so far, and that's through the Kansas game. Now let's take a look at Louisiana, which
Louisiana.
scored
The answer
10.
is 0 because they had a 180-yard run, and that was the extent of their
Yep,
score. And that we'll call that a we'll call it massive explosive play is the moniker. Is
massive explosive.
MEP. So no for none for Louisiana. And I'm
Their
not sure.
field goal
So
came on a short field too, by the way.
yeah,
It was intercepted when he tried to throw
after
it
the
to that
interception.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, so then we get to South Carolina. Let's see what they did. So they scored from their 33-yard line. Sellers to Rowe for 11, a 6-yard run, a 5-yard run, a false start on the offense. What is this? Oh, it was a 49-yard touchdown to that Jacobs kid.
Yeah. Wipe it out. Doesn't count.
Okay, so we're not counting that. Okay. This is a fun game. All right, so they scored from their 30. Sellers to Jacobs for 20, Sellers to Rowe for 15, Sellers to Rowe for 24.
Okay. Was that off of the interception though?
That was off an interception to Josh Manning. Yes, they started
Wipe
on
it
their
out.
30 though. But okay, I'm fine with that.
Sorry, we'll give it to them. We'll give that one to them because
Okay.
it wasn't like the other two where they were returned all the way, like the Kansas
Yeah.
one and then this most recent one. So we'll give it to them.
Yeah.
30. Okay,
Right.
that's
So we're at 3, right?
Yeah.
3. Okay, and then they scored. No, this is a field goal. They started on their 37. 10-yard pass, 2-yard run, 4-yard run, 45-yard pass.
Yeah, wipe it out. Doesn't count.
Okay. And then they scored another field goal. Started on their 26. Run for 4, 31-yard pass. Damn it. Wow.
That one's under 40 though. We'll keep that one.
Well, okay, so there's two explosive plays. There's a 31-yard pass to Brown and then a 33-yard pass to Nick Harbor.
That
was when there was like 3rd and 37.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was pretty ridiculous. I'll give it to him though because I had set the parameter at 40 yards.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we'll give it to him. So that's 4.
That's 4. South Carolina. Nope, they didn't score there. Didn't score there. And didn't score there. Okay. So we're all caught up. How many is that?
So,
4?
4. So in 5 games, and I don't know how many defensive drives, we'll call it, I mean, probably 50.
I could tell you. 11,
55.
21, 32, 43, 55 drives.
In 55 defensive drives, they've given up 4 scoring drives. That's touchdown and field goal. 4 drives where the opponent started on their own side of the field and did not have a play of more than 40 yards or was not the drive was not extended by a 15-yard personal foul penalty. And really that caveat was just that one drive with the Darius Smith face mask. So that only disqualified one of those drives. So that's outrageous. I don't care who you're playing. The fact that they've only given up 4 actual scoring drives without some weird thing happening is really promising if they can prevent the weird. Can you prevent the weird things from happening? And then that number, you can stop pass interfering passes. You can stop giving up 40 or 50-yard pass plays because the safety is in the wrong spot and the cornerback thinks the safety's over here, or the cornerback just gets completely burned. You can be better. Be better, be better 3 or 4 more times than you're looking at instead of giving up what they're scoring. They're already very high scoring defense wise.
Yeah.
But they're probably averaging after the 6-point game like 15 points a game. That number would be down to 8, and that's like top 5 in the country.
I mean, it's going to be explosive plays because that's kind of always the kryptonite, especially in any football, certainly college football. But the way I think they've been able to mitigate that is by time of possession. That's the other wonky stat. Once again, we were in a situation on Saturday where time of possession, which doesn't really mean anything, but just for my argument here, it does. 38 minutes and 43 seconds of possession versus 21-17. Like, that's extremely lopsided. Not as bad as other games, but it is. In fact, if you go back, the total amount of time that the defense has been on the field. Okay. Our defense has been on the field for 1 hour, 52 minutes, and 33 seconds. Okay. Played 5 games. That's 300 minutes. And they've been out on the field for 112 of them. That means when you're watching a Missouri football game, Missouri's defense is 37% of your watching entertainment.
And that
That's
also
absurd.
means that all of those defenders are as fresh as you could possibly be for having played 5 Division I football games. And that's amazing down the stretch when you start getting to game 8, game
Yeah.
9, where you're playing against defenses that have been on the field for, instead of a third of the overall time, they've been on the field for 50% of the time. I mean, those minutes add up. And instead of, let's say, just extrapolate that out 3 more games, let's say if they've been on the field 100 minutes, 60 more minutes that they've been on the field, that's 165 minutes that they've been on the field compared to 250, 300 minutes for the opponent. That starts to wear down, especially when you get deep into SEC games where you've got really heavy offensive linemen leaning on you over and over and over again.
Yeah.
That you're going to wear down. You're going to see more injuries. That's going to have an impact, and that's going to be a positive thing for Mizzou.
100%. And I don't even know, like, do you want to take it like, oh, it should be 100, should be half and half, right?
Yeah.
Offense should be on the field 50%, defense should be on the field 50%. Well, okay, at that point, Missouri's defense should be on the field for 150 minutes. They're at 112. It means they're 38 minutes less than the average, let's just call it an average college defense. Okay?
Which is like a full game at this point.
It should, yeah.
A full game less.
That means they're facing 7.6 fewer minutes per game, right? Than the average. Again, we're just calling it half being the average.
Yeah.
So you extrapolate that over the next 7 games. That's another 53 minutes. Like this is a group that should be daisy fresh, 66% of the way through the year, and it just minimizes injuries, minimizes wear and tear, also minimizes reps, which apparently are secondary needs. But that's what practice is for.
Yeah. And that's only going to be compounded by the fact that they've got a bye this week. Alabama does not have a bye. They get to play. They played Georgia.
They played Vanderbilt.
They won. They beat Georgia at Georgia, but they got absolutely pounded in the process. Then they get to go play Vanderbilt, and that's not going to be a walk in the park by any means. And all the while, the Mizzou Tigers will be sitting back in jacuzzis and hitting the sauna and hitting the massage table and the cold plunge and whatever relaxing / recovery methods of your choice. For the next 2 weeks, and not having to just chase after Diego Pavia and get really mad all the time.
He hastily whip up a 3D printed ligament for Caden Green to put back in his body. Well, I guess they fixed it, but whatever.
He could be back by that game. We don't know yet. That is TBD.
Earliest timeline would be the Alabama game, so we'll see. Also, Jay Richardson, still good. This is the place you want to be. You want to win sleepy games. You want to be unimpressed with your team's domination at 5-0. I think any college football coach, their favorite thing: win a game, have things to teach. Oh my God, they can't be happier when they have things to teach, and you're still winning games. I think he even said in his post game, like, "Hey, it's nice to not be great and still be undefeated. That's pretty dang good." And speaking of teams who haven't been great and are defeated, Arkansas, buddy, you fired Sam Pittman. You got beat by Notre Dame by quite a bit, and you looked pretty lost on defense while doing it. How do you feel about the old Sammy Pittman getting the can?
I mean, at this point, it was inevitable. There had been. You can't give up 42 points in the first half to any team at home, and then expect to survive. Especially, Notre Dame is a very good team. They're not a team that scores 42 points in one half. They've
been playing for hundreds of years. And this is the first time they did that.
And even but especially even under the current regime, That's not how they play. They are much more like Mizzou in terms of their style of play. They want to control the possession, control the
Mhm.
clock, shut you down on defense, bleed the clock down, and win that way. They've got a very good running game, very good running backs. Uh, but yeah, it was. I mean, I was watching that game, and it was bad. It was like just quit. Just I mean the keyword got thrown around. Especially I mean especially well you look at their offense, move the ball okay. Their offense is okay. They're not
Well, yeah.
amazing. They're okay. And then they come out in the second half and get shut out against Notre Dame's third stringers. That's where the
That's
keyword
bad.
starts to get tossed around. So
That's bad.
um, it was rough. It was inevitable, especially after that game. I mean, I don't think even if they had kept it close, relatively close, and lost by 2 touchdowns, he might not have gotten fired this week, but it was going to happen by the end of the week, by the end of the season anyway. So I kind of
Yeah.
understand why they want to get a. They know they're not going to be the only SEC program looking for a coach this year, so they want to get a head start on that process, which
Uh,
makes sense.
I get it. I mean, there's obviously, first mover theory when it comes to kind of market analysis and wanting to get out, like you said, get out there and let people know that, you're on the market, let's talk about stuff. But God, I feel so much. I was listening. I forget who was talking about it, but somebody was talking about like the kind of the first mover theory, first to market theory, and how that doesn't really hold a lot of weight anymore because it's so much less about um, throwing as much money as you can at the best coach that's out there, and more along the lines of like attracting a coach to your job. And if you don't have an attractable landing spot like UCLA or Virginia Tech, like if your AD is making pleas to their version of the board of directors of like, please give us more money or else let's not do this anymore. Like it's gonna, whether you're first or last, candidates are going to have serious questions about your infrastructure, and if you don't have answers for that, then it doesn't matter if you're out there. Um, Other than you're just whipping through interviews faster than everybody else. And I think there are questions about Arkansas. Obviously, the Chicken Man ponied up to get John Calipari there for basketball. Like I get that. Um, the rumor around Arkansas is like it's fine from an NIL standpoint, but you're not going to win um, a lot of bids for players. Your natural talent does lead to defensive ends and receivers and that kind of like a more spread out passing oriented defense and like rush the passer defense. Um, but you're also in the SEC. You're also it's hard. Like there's somebody's going to take it because there's SEC money behind it, but I don't know if Arkansas is as attractive a job as Arkansas thinks it is. And I know I'm a Missouri fan, but like there seems to be some rumbles about what they got going on there.
Yeah, they're a lot like a even less accomplished Nebraska in terms of what their fan base thinks that they are
Mm,
now,
yeah,
versus what they perhaps were in the '60s. At least
yeah,
Nebraska has history into the '90s of being a dominant program.
yeah. When we're alive, yeah,
It's if you compare the resume of Mizzou since they've been in the SEC and Arkansas since they've been in the SEC, it's not comparable
yeah,
in terms of the overall success. And yeah, they have more SEC wins. They've been in it for 3 times as long. But in terms of winning percentage in the SEC, in terms of making the SEC championship game, in terms of head-to-head rep, it's really not close. And any Arkansas fan would be very flustered to hear that, but it's just the truth.
yeah.
That's just the truth.
And the money people there, I think, were just tired of Sam Pittman. I like Sam Pittman a lot. I probably like him more because he doesn't beat Missouri all that often. So I recognize my bias here, but he just seems like a good dude. And then you whiplash to the exact opposite kind of dude as your interim with Bobby Petrino. He's just got all sorts of fun of job abandonment and spousal cheating and all that sort of stuff, and just like, wow, what a garbage human being you're got running your program now. And he wants the job again. For our younger listeners, he was the coach at Arkansas for a couple of years when they were really good. Then he crashed his motorcycle with his mistress on it, and there he goes. But he's got a long track record of abandoning teams. He left the Falcons halfway through the year. He left. He left Louisville. Basically, every team he leaves is way worse after he left. There's this like meteoric rise, especially on offense, and then just a tumble, and then he leaves, and it's like a crater that everybody has to climb out of. It's not a he's not a good program builder. He's a good offense coordinator, not a good head guy. But I know it sounds like the money people want Rhett Lashley out of SMU, who was their offensive coordinator for a couple of years. That makes a ton of sense. I don't know if Rhett wants to do that, but we'll see. They could hire me. I can crash a program for way less than Bobby Petrino.
Yeah. And, I would only take $1 million to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll do it. It's fine. And I won't crash a motorcycle either. Crash your program, not the motorcycle. Better person.
There you go. There you go.
Also, as long as we're talking about rumors and coaching, obviously Florida's less than impressive this year. I just want Mizzou fans to be comfortable. Eli Drinkwitz is going to get talked about a lot when it comes to the Florida job. Florida wants him. They want him very badly. I cannot tell you what Eli values as far as a job goes. Obviously, we're sitting here and saying, hey, he asks for anything and he gets it. He has been able to wrangle the cats known as Missouri Booster Corps. He's gotten laws changed in the state for him. He's lifted this program from a recruiting and a program building standpoint that we have never seen. He's won 25 of his last 30 games or whatever number we're at this point. Yes, he runs his head up against top 10 programs, but so does everybody, man. Like he has lifted this program beyond what we ever thought it could be, especially in the modern era. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of programs that are interested in him, and there's a lot of swirling around Florida at this point. So if he's a money guy, I'm sure Florida can make a decent offer. I'm sure Missouri will counter. But what I will say is don't get mad about it. Be excited that the University of Florida wants the University of Missouri's head football coach, and just understand that if he is taken, this program is in such a better state than when he came in, that it is a great statement for Mizzou's coach to get poached by Florida. And they're going to get somebody who's awesome to come in and replace him rather than what we had to do last time. So just prepare thyselves.
For sure. Back to whether or not he would consider Florida, is Florida if you put the two programs side by side, is it a better job? You probably would say yes. I think if you had to rank them two, combination of recruiting area, overall budget, the fact that you can win, you have proven to have won national championships there, and multiple in the last 20 years. That is there. But I do think that the current state of college football makes a job like Florida in comparison to Mizzou much more on even ground. Mm-hmm. If this was 10 years ago, it's a no-brainer. If you're at Mizzou and Florida wants you, you take that job. That's not necessarily the case. Not the current state of the Mizzou program, the amount of work he has put into this program in the last 6 years to get it to where it is, the blood, sweat, and tears there, where the donors of this program currently sit versus where they were 6 years ago. Very different giving profile on the NIL side than we could have possibly imagined it would have been 10 years ago. Yeah, Florida has NIL money to spend too, but it's not as huge of a difference as you would think it would be. Also, in terms of budget and salary wise, Drinkwitz makes more money than Billy Napier does right now by not a small amount. I mean, it's more than like $2 million more a year currently. Now, so Florida would have to not only offer more than they were paying Napier, they have to significantly offer more than what he's making now to make that job happen. Do they have the money to do that? Yes, they do. But that leap there then doesn't mean Mizzou would have to go that far out of their shoes to match it either, which would certainly happen if he was to get an offer and then choose to stay here. That would also probably come with a hefty raise. But if it gets to that point, it would. That you could argue that it's deserved, because I think they would go after. It would probably take Mizzou finishing at 10 wins again, a third straight year, for them to be able to convince their own donor base that that's the move to make at that point. So there's a lot of up in the air there. Yeah. Who knows what'll happen? I agree that Florida probably does want. He's in the running for that job. He's not. I don't think he's going to be the only candidate. He's not going to be the guy that they put on their board number one. We were not going to go home until we get this guy. There are other candidates, but he's on the list. He is definitely on the list. He was on the list last year when they were kicking around whether or not Billy Napier was going to go. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting to see. But I agree that if he were to leave, whether it's to Florida, whether it's to anywhere else. This the way where the program is now means that the pool of candidates that they will be pulling from, if they were to have to pull from a pool of candidates, is significantly better than the pool they had to pull from when they hired Drinkwitz, and that worked out great. But if everyone will remember, that was a very messy process. It went back to the board of curators telling the AD at the time, no, this list of candidates you brought us is piss poor. And he said, well, you're gonna have to give me a little bit more money. And then the board of curators said, well, we're actually going to go out and just do this ourselves. And they found Drinkwitz and they brought him on, and it has worked out swimmingly. That's not going to be the case now. They're going to be fielding coaches who want this job at this point. They're going to be saying, they're going to be getting calls from agents saying, my guy is interested in this job. Let's chat. And the list of those coaches could be very different than an Arkansas State coach, or for example. So we're in a good spot.
To Arkansas's credit, and really Mizzou's credit, and any SEC team's credit, 15 years ago, to win a national title, you had to be one of the top 2 teams in the country, and there were like 10 teams who could claim that. 10 years ago, you had to be one of the top 4 teams in the country, and again, it's about the same 10 or 12 teams that could claim that, and that was it. Now, well, currently, you got to be one of the top 12. And in the near future, it's probably going to be 16. And oh, by the way, the SEC is probably going to get 4 guaranteed slots. So really, you have to be a top 4 team in the SEC, which Missouri has done several times since 2012. And if the money you spend on players is pretty similar to a Florida, which I don't know for sure, but let's just say it is, and your path is the exact same, do you want to start all over and rebuild at a blue blood? Or do you want, take the challenge, because, coaches love challenges, or do you want to say, I've done the challenge, now I'm just trying to make it to the playoff, trying to win a championship? Like that's the challenge I'm embracing. I don't know where Drink's mind is at this point, but he's going to listen to what they have to say. You'd be crazy not to. I encourage him to take the call. I agree with you. I don't think the gulf between Florida and Missouri is as large as it has been in the past because of all the changes that have come down the pipe. But you have a job. I have a job. If someone's asking to hire you away, I'm sure. What are you gonna do? Right? Let's see what you got, and then you go back to your employer and say, "What do you got?" You don't get to be the prettiest girl in school all that often, so you want to take advantage of it when you can. So, yeah, just be prepared for it. But that's okay. Missouri beat UMass. It's a bye week.
UMass, and they got 2 recruits that we haven't mentioned yet.
Yeah, they got 2 recruits.
And we're getting late on time here, but I just wanted to shout out JUCO defensive lineman DeMarcus Johnson, who was, I believe, rated the number 1 JUCO product in the country, which is really exciting. And he had a great offer list. LSU, he only made 2 official visits, and LSU was the other one. So that tells you a little bit about who else wanted him. I think a couple other Mississippi State wanted him as well. A couple other SEC offers. Really interesting build on this guy, 6'8", 260. So very tall, not the thickest cat. So I'm very curious to see how he's used. Because he's at 260, even if he puts on 20 pounds, it's still not going to be big enough to play interior defensive line in the SEC. But could he be an awesome, run stuffing, basically a taller Zion Williams, maybe not as good a pass rusher, but Zion Williams, I think, is much better at setting the edge in the run game and just being an absolute.
Zion Young, right?
Zion Young. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was watching
Zion, Zion Williams.
Zion Young. I was watching Zion Williamson highlights earlier today. Zion Young, really good edge setting defensive end. Pretty good pass rusher, but I think he's much better at stopping the run. Could this guy be a similar mold as that? At 6'8", it's hard to throw passes over him. So will he? Can he bat down a lot of stuff? I'm very curious to see how he's used.
Yeah, and then Micah Nickerson, 4-star from Magnolia, Mississippi, former Columbia kid. My town. 4-star from Magnolia, Mississippi, defensive end, 6'5", 215. Yeah. So yeah,
he's building up that defensive line in the class. Now 12 commitments. It was already a very small class. It'll end up being a very small class.
Yeah.
And as the ratings go, by far the lowest rated Eli Drinkwitz class. I'm not really sure what that means at this point, other than I think he's just focusing much more on the portal, which we've had discussions about in the past, and we'll do in the off season as well. But at least they're still working on the recruiting trail. There might be one or two other flips here coming, but if you're reading the tea leaves, so it sounds like they're still bringing in some guys in.
And remember, his last quote unquote lowest ranked class of all time still had Marquise Johnson, who played significant minutes. Still had Jamal Roberts played significant minutes. Still has Blake Craig. Okay, like it was a very good class. Marvin Burks was the jewel. Logan Reichert, 4-star. Josh Manning, who's playing now, played as a freshman. Brett Norfleet played as a freshman. Like that was his lowest ranked class, and you saw more freshmen playing than any other class so far. So just it's gonna be okay. But yeah, it's getting late, so that's going to be the show for today. It is a bye week, so we will not have a Wednesday show. I know you're sad. We're not. We're going to enjoy it. Nathan's going to move. I'm going to, I don't know, not record, I guess. But we'll get back to you next week as we get ready for Alabama once we get through the bye week. And that's the show for today. As always, we appreciate the downloads and the subscriptions. You can leave a comment or rate us. We love all types of feedback from you all. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Nate G. Edwards. He's at Burst to Hurst. And of course, you can follow the Rock M flagship at Rock M Nation and our podcasting outlet at Rock M Radio. We appreciate you tuning in this time. We'll try to do better next time. And until then, MIZ.
ZOU.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Rock M Radio, a proud partner of Fans First Sports Network. Rock M Radio is the official podcast network of Rock M Plus, a new and exciting subscription service provided by me and the other voices of Rock M Radio. Please take a few moments to head over to rockm.plus and sign up for an account today. The cost is only $5 a month, and benefits include access to our live podcast, a subscriber-only message board, weekly newsletters, and more. If you enjoyed this episode of Rock M Radio and would like to see more just like it beamed directly into your personal device, make sure to click the subscribe button below and tell your friends. Our podcast feed is available through the Apple Podcast app for iPhone, Google Podcast app for Android, whatever app you listen to your podcast. You can also find Rock M Radio on Spotify. If you're looking for a podcast about your favorite team that is not Missouri Tigers, Fan First Sports Network is your answer. A full podcast network loaded with the team-specific podcasts covering Major League Baseball, the NFL, NHL, NBA, MLS, and more. And we'll be back with more episodes of Rock M Radio coming to you soon.